Hey everybody, it's Stacey Duffy here, your Denver Metro real estate resource, and I'm going to tell you the top 3 things that I'm using to help my buyers win houses, okay? So, number 1, and I'm going to go through them really quick and then I'll go into them in detail. Number 1, have cash to cover an appraisal gap, okay? Number 2, be flexible on your timing and or terms, write friendly terms, and I'll explain those. And number 3, have a good agent. Yeah. So going into those in detail. A good agent, I'm just going to go ahead and start with that one because that's kind of the crux of all of this. Having a good agent, they can advise you on what makes the most sense, whether to buy now, whether to wait, given your situation, you know, how many offers may you have to write to go buy a place. An agent that says, oh yeah, we'll probably get the first one here in Denver. I'm really good and I'm still not telling people that, guys. Like, that's just not realistic. Depends on your situation. Yes, it's happened, especially in the last couple of years for me, but that is not the norm, okay? So they're going to be able to set a realistic expectation for you of what to expect. They're not going to paint this shiny rainbow picture with unicorns, because if you've heard anything about the housing market right now, unless you are a seller with absolutely gorgeous properties, that is not the situation, right? For buyers, it is not sunshine and rainbows and unicorns right now. It is like we've upgraded to past Mad Max, past medieval bloodbath, like past Survivor. I don't even know what to compare it to anymore. I've kind of worked my way up through those ranks, and I mean, we're past Hunger Games, guys. It's gnarly. So we're past Squid Games. It's that bad. So having a good agent that can recommend to you and set a realistic expectation and say, hey, here's, does it make sense for us to go shop right now? Yes, you have what you need to compete. I think we have a shot at this, given what I've seen, given the statistics in the market, given what, sellers are accepting or what they're looking for. I think you're in a good position to do that. Okay, let's go do that. Here's the toolbox. Now, when we find the house, here's the toolbox of tools that we can use to structure our offer. Good agents have a toolbox. That's what I tell my clients. I'm like, guys, this is my toolbox. Let me talk to the listing agent and see what the seller's looking for so I know which tools are going to make the most sense. Okay, given your situation, I can use these 5 out of the 10 tools because you have cash, you have this. Maybe this doesn't make sense, okay? Let me go see what the seller's going to want and which one of these are going to make the most sense. So good agents are going to have a good toolbox and going to set a realistic expectation and picture from you, okay? Bad agents will waste your time. And yes, there's a lot of them out there. There's a lot less than there used to be, I will say. The severe market conditions has kind of allowed the cream to rise to the top as far as capability and competency of agents. So there's a lot more good agents as a percentage of the whole available than there used to be, which is good. But good agents are going to be able to help you with those things. When you're interviewing agents, as I always say, you should be interviewing agents. I even tell the buyers that I'm sitting down with that are interviewing me, I'm like, guys, are you talking to anybody else? They're like, no. I'm like, okay, that's competition for me, but I want you to know how I'm going to help you versus someone else is going to help you, because that will secure your decision in who you hire. Otherwise, you always second guess yourself. So a good agent can really be the difference of you getting a house and you not getting a house and getting burnt out and wasting your weekends and dragging your kids everywhere, or trying to pay, someone or have a friend or whatever, watch them for weekends and weekends and weekends of getting defeated and just like throwing up your hands and saying, screw it. Okay? Have a good agent to help you. One of the things those good agents are probably going to recommend that you need to be competitive right now, and I'm going to speak to the Denver market because that's where I work, that's where I play, that's my sandbox, right? I'm not licensed in other states, so I'm not giving advice on that, but general housing market situation seems to be very similar in other places. Is what they're going to recommend is having appraisal gap coverage, which is that second thing. And I'm going out of order, but I don't care. I'm highly caffeinated and I'm sorry. So you're going to get some crazy Stacey rambling. So the appraisal gap, and I'll link to up above and down below. I did a video on appraisal gap coverage quite a while ago, a couple years ago. Anyway, maybe 3-4 years ago. Still relevant as far as how it works. But cash to cover the appraisal, because as houses get bid up, that seller is worried that the house won't appraise for that. Just because you're willing to pay for it doesn't mean the market situation and the past sold comparables can support that information for an appraiser to say, yes, just because you will pay that much, somebody else will pay that much, the bank could get that much if they had to foreclose on you. That's the whole process, right? So they're still going to do that. And that's what sellers are looking for, is appraisal gap coverage. Is kind of like a mini insurance policy for them of, hey, if you are willing to pay $50,000 over the list price and it doesn't appraise for that, are you willing to bring that 50 grand out of your pocket because you're promising that to me? I don't really care how you get it, whether it's from the lender or out of your pocket, but I expect to get that. That's one of the big things that's going to strengthen your offer right now, okay? The piece of a good agent tying into that is an agent that can help the appraiser get to value, okay? This is something a lot of agents don't talk about. I don't think I've done a video on an appraisal packet. Maybe I'll put them on my list to shoot. Very few agents are doing appraisal packets. I always do them for my seller clients because that's my job, is to help the seller get every dollar they can out of the property. And I offer to the buyers, hey, do you want me to do one for you too? There's pros, there's cons. I'm not going to go into the detail on that right now of me doing one for the buy side. But helping the appraiser get to the value so you're not having to use that cash out of your pocket. You're still paying the price for the house, but it's getting it to appraise so you can, the lender will see that as the property value so you can finance essentially a portion of it instead of doing the appraisal gap cash out of pocket. So good realtors can help with that. That has saved my buyers thousands of dollars out of their pocket, guys. Good realtors will offer to help get the appraiser to value. Because there's information that appraiser needs that they don't always have, like how many offers were there on the house? What are the other comps? What are the time value adjustments in a crazy, rapidly appreciating market? All of these things that good agents do that people don't realize because we suck at selling ourselves. We're great at selling houses. We're suck at selling ourselves generally. So that's a lot of the value that we add. So having that appraisal gap coverage and then having an agent that can help that appraiser get to value. So hopefully you don't have to use all of that because that's an easy way out for the appraisers. And it's harder for them to appraise the house higher when you offer those things. But if an agent can help them get to value and gives them justifiable information of why that property should appraise for more, that can save the buyer a lot of cash, okay? Cash out of pocket. So that's the first thing and the second thing. Those are really the big ones, guys. Big, big, big ones. The third thing right now is I say friendliness on time and terms. This is the, oh, you need a few weeks to go find a place to live? No problem. You can live in the house rent-free for a month or up to 2 months. Most lenders will allow up to 60 days. And that's here in Colorado, we use a post-closing occupancy form, which is essentially a mini lease where you buy the house, the seller gets their money, and now they have the money to go buy a new house. Because a lot of sellers are worried about being homeless because if they have to go buy, they have two sides of the problem. Yes, I can sell my house, but now I won't have a place to live. So helping them solve the logistical issues of the process or the concerns or the, hey, I need a place to live, okay? And having a good agent will help you with all these things. You see there's a common theme here. Yay, hint, hint, wink, wink. Okay. So friendliness on timing or terms, post-closing rent backs. I have a video on rent back that I'll link to up above and down below. Inspection, which you will or won't do on inspection. And a lot of people get really creative with this stuff because what buyers try to do is they'll be like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to offer $50,000 more for the house because I love it and I want it. And then a week later when the inspection happens, they're like, well, I'm paying $50,000 more than it was listed for. It should be pretty damn perfect. And I'm like, no, the house hasn't changed in a week. It's still the house you offered to buy a week ago. It didn't become perfect. And just because now you know things you didn't know before doesn't mean it's necessarily worth less. And certainly not to the 20 other people in line behind you. So remember that. But offering, friendly things on the inspection to the seller, like, hey, seller, I know it's not a brand new house. I know just like it, just if it were a car, there'd be door dings and the tires aren't brand new. But it's really nice and it gets me from point A to B. Okay, it's a really nice house. The furnace is not brand new, but it seems to be functioning and well cared for. Letting them know you're not going to nickel and dime things for later in the process. A lot of it ties to the friendliness on terms. There's two main themes on it, is how easy are you going to be to work with through the process and letting them know, hey, when it comes to this, here's what I'm going to do. When it comes to this, here's what I'm going to do. If you can communicate those things in your offer and a good agent can help you do that while protecting a lot of your rights, then that is going to help the seller feel at ease, because what they're worried about is being on the market for a month and then you go finance a car and now you can't get a loan and now you can't buy the house and they just wasted a month of crap. Now I got to relist it and I've already moved and I don't have the money and I can't buy the house I wanted to, and all of these domino effect things. Okay. So the more you can convey how the process is going to go, which a good agent is really good at doing, that's kind of our job. One of the many pieces of our job, then the better chance you have of getting those offer accepted. The other piece on friendliness of terms is help them net more money. So instead of just offering, $2,000 higher in the cost or higher in the offer price, maybe you say, hey seller, I'm going to pay those HOA transfer fees. Okay. And I'm going to pay the title policy, because here in Colorado, it's customary, not mandated, but customary that the seller covers that cost. I can't tell you, when I'm helping a seller and we're going through multiple offers on the buy side, how many people say, oh, the seller has to pay this fee, and the seller has to pay the water transfer fee, and the seller has to pay the HOA status letter fee, and the seller's going to pay the title policy. And now there's utility transfer costs that are in the contract. There's a new one. And all of these little fees. And oh, by the way, the seller, you need to leave this and you need to leave this and you need to leave this because I'm giving you this high dollar price for the property. What that tells me and what that tells the seller is kind of a pain in the ass to work with a lot of the times. Is it true? No. But that's essentially what you're conveying or what you're saying, the reading between the lines, right? If you have a buyer that's offering pretty much close to the same price that says, hey seller, I absolutely love the home and I'm so excited to live in it and, blah, 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 making sure we're not discriminating on fair housing or anything else, or fair housing protected classes and everything else. And by the way, I'll pay the HOA transfer fees, I'll pay the water fees, so you don't have to worry about those. And that nets you more money in the end. That comes across as a much better buyer to work with that just wants the place. Okay? Versus, hey, I'll give you this crazy price. And it also alleviates more of that appraisal problem, because the higher that price goes, the more appraisal concern there is. If you can net the seller money in other ways, they don't usually care. Like, they would prefer to take their money in a safe way. Saving money on fees is a safe way. Having a higher price where the property now has to appraise and there's risk is not as safe of a way for them to get their money in the end if you're not covering all that appraisal gap. So, and a lot of buyers, that gets really messy, guys. So there's other ways to net the seller more money and write a better offer. Good agents helping the seller will notice those things and will say, hey, this is going to net you another $3,300 versus just offering more on the price. And now we have an appraisal gap that we have to worry about if it doesn't appraise. So those are probably my top three. Wow, this turned out to be a long video. Sorry. As I mentioned, overly caffeinated. Yay for shooting videos in the morning. Sorry about that. But those are my top three things. Have a good agent that can advise you how to structure your offer and how to be competitive. Have some cash available to cover the appraisal gap. Ideally, that agent can help do an appraisal packet and help that appraiser get to value so you're not having to use as much or if any of that. And then 3 is the friendliness on timing and terms, as far as helping them logistically solve their concerns of timing, double moves, all that kind of stuff. Give them some time and some flexibility if that's what they need, or close faster if that's what they need. And having a good lender will help you do that. And the terms of covering some of their fees and conveying to them you're going to be easy to work with, and that nets them more money in the end than just offering a higher price. So those are my top 3 secrets. Not secrets, but a lot of the things that good agents use and a lot of not as good agents don't. If you're looking to buy or sell here in the Denver metro area, I love doing my job. I tell people I'm very good at it. I usually am. I don't like to toot my own horn too much because yes, there are the great agents out there, and right now there's a lot of good agents working, which is good given our market condition. Those are the only ones that can seem to make a living. So, because we get paid when things buy or sell, so if we can't help people buy, they don't get paid. Anyway, reach out to me. My contact information is on my website. The link for that is down below. If you're looking to sell and you want someone to advise you on all of these things and realize what's actually going to get to the closing table and what's going to get you more money and make sure we're not going to have appraisal problems if they're at all avoidable and all of those types of things, I love to do that as well. I have very good records and relationships with my past clients given those situations, and can usually cover the cost of those fees in the cost of the brokerage fees and typical expenses of selling and how much more we get you for your property in the end, and it still nets you more money in your pocket. So, and then all of your neighbors love you because the price of your house was so much more than they thought it was going to be. So all of your neighbors love you for setting the new high price for the neighborhood that they now can compare to. So Reach out to me again for any help buying or selling. Contact information is on the website. If this was helpful for you, hit the like button. I'd really appreciate that as well. If it's helpful for you, it's probably helpful for somebody else, and this helps them find it. And yeah, thanks so much for the time. Feel free to subscribe if you're liking my videos, and have a great day.